The government promised thousands of homes, yet after $1.5 billion, the result is zero. Where did the money go?
And of the money that has been committed, how many houses has that money supported the construction of and the completion of as at today?
So we won't receive in this program progress reporting that specifies a number of houses.
You're kidding?
No, Senator.
Well, that's appalling. I mean, that's appalling governance. If I was running a program which was designed to unlock new houses, and I was giving away checks to people, and I didn't come back and say how many houses did you build, and I was running a company, the company's directors would be sacked.
The Treasurer also said last night that the Housing Australia Future Fund is, and I quote again, helping build 18,000 houses. We all know that the HAF is virtually on a duck. When will this Labor government build its first house?
Point is, though, that this was announced back in 2023, so this is not a brand new thing. This has been funded for 18 months. And the evidence we just heard is it hasn't supported the development of a single house. So I would suggest that a house takes 9 months to build.
To you.
My last question is, if it's on zero today, zero houses built, how many years will it take to get the thousands of houses you say that it may produce one day?
Senator, in the context of this program, I don't think that is a question that we can answer. We can provide details of the projects that are being funded under this program, which are infrastructure projects, but they're not direct house construction.
Please take it on notice.
Last night the Treasurer's budget speech said, and I quote, 1.2 million new houses will be built before the decade is out. Wow. End quote. Every single private economist and even the Treasury know that this target is a dead duck. Why is the government constantly misleading the Australian people?
Chapter 1. The Promise That Fooled a Nation. In 2022, Labor proudly unveiled a bold $10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund, touted as the largest investment in affordable housing in a generation. The aim? Build 30,000 social and affordable homes within 5 years. Australians, especially renters and first home hopefuls, were told help was on the way. But fast forward to 2025, and the headlines scream betrayal. Not a single home has been completed under the fund. The Australian dream of home ownership continues slipping further out of reach, while the cost of living crisis deepens. That begs the question, where did the money go? How can $1.5 billion be spent without a single house to show for it? The answer lies in bureaucracy, delay tactics, and questionable priorities. Instead of directly funding construction, Labor's plan was to invest the money through the Future Fund, Australia's sovereign wealth fund, with returns used to finance housing projects. But due to market volatility, returns were lower than expected, triggering delays. That meant no money flowed to housing projects in the first year. Not only that, but administrative costs, consultancy fees, and intergovernmental negotiations ate into the timeline. States bickered over land use and funding conditions, and projects were stalled in planning limbo. Meanwhile, property prices soared, making even the original budget projections outdated. Chapter 2. The Real Cost to Australians. Beyond the wasted time, this failure has had very real consequences for ordinary Australians. Rents are skyrocketing. In cities like Brisbane and Perth, median rents jumped over 10% in the past year. In regional Australia, it's even worse. Some towns have seen rents surge by 20%, with vacancy rates below 1%. Homelessness is rising. According to the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, over 120,000 people sought homelessness services in 2024, an all-time high. First home buyers are being priced out. With housing supply lagging and investor demand remaining strong, the average house price in Australia reached $925,000 in early 2025, up nearly 7% year-on-year. Taxpayers are footing the bill. While no homes have been built, the fund's management has cost millions. Taxpayers are essentially funding a non-performing promise, while their own housing dreams crumble. Emma, a single mother of 2 in Melbourne, was counting on affordable housing being available within a year. "I was told the program was meant to help people like me," she says. "Now I'm sleeping in my car while waiting on a list that hasn't moved in 6 months." In Queensland, a construction worker named Darren lost his job when a housing project that was meant to be supported by the fund was suspended indefinitely. "We were ready to pour the foundation. Then we were told funding hadn't come through." Meanwhile, property investors continue to buy up housing stock, while young Australians increasingly look overseas for a future. Chapter 3. The politics behind the failure. The failure of the fund has sparked fury, not only from the public but from economists, industry experts, and even some within Labor's own ranks. Critics argue the plan was flawed from the start. Instead of a direct build strategy, it relied on market returns and a hands-off approach. The Greens initially opposed the fund, calling it a gamble on the stock market instead of a guarantee for homes. Even Labor MPs now privately admit the rollout has been a disaster, with one anonymous source telling the press, "We tried to make it look big without spending anything up front. It backfired." But here's the bigger picture. The $1.5 billion failure isn't just a one-off blunder. It reflects a wider pattern in Australia's housing policy: underfunded, overcomplicated, and politically convenient. Successive governments have promised to tackle affordability, but real outcomes remain elusive. The National Rental Affordability Scheme was axed. State-level planning restrictions slow down supply. Foreign investment continues to distort the market. Tax settings like negative gearing still fuel speculation. What remains is a patchwork system that benefits the wealthy and leaves the vulnerable scrambling. Chapter 4. How this affects you. Whether you're a renter, homeowner, or investor, this failed housing fund impacts you. For renters, it means longer waits, higher costs, and less stability. For homeowners, it fuels further price growth, but at the cost of a fragile market built on debt. For taxpayers, it means funding programs that deliver no results while essential services suffer cutbacks. And for the nation, it signals a moral failure to care for the most basic human need: shelter. Now, Australians are demanding answers, and rightly so. If this fund can't deliver homes, it needs to be restructured or scrapped. Experts are calling for direct government construction of public housing rather than relying on complex funding models. Federal-state coordination with clear targets, timelines, and accountability. Transparent reporting on how funds are being used and where delays are occurring. Immediate emergency measures to address homelessness and rental stress. In a time of economic hardship, half measures and bureaucracy are no longer acceptable. Final thoughts. Labor's $1.5 billion housing fund was meant to offer hope. Instead, it's delivered nothing but headlines, hardship, and heartbreak. Australians deserve better than broken promises. They deserve homes. Subscribe to Outback Crisis for more hard-hitting investigations into the policies shaping your future. Watch this video here to learn how the government's latest mandate may be wiping out Australia's middle class